The sun hung high over the peaceful cul-de-sac as Rebecca Moore pulled her silver hybrid into the driveway of her suburban home. It was a typical Wednesday. The trunk of her car brimmed with brown paper grocery bags, milk, bread, cereal, and fresh blueberries for her son Jonah's school lunches. Her arms were full as she stepped out onto the driveway, ready to settle back into the comfort of routine. She was halfway to the front door when a shrill voice cut through the calm. "You're parked too close to the curb." Startled, Rebecca turned. At the end of her driveway stood Marlene, a petite, severe-looking woman with sharp features and an HOA-issued beige vest that she wore like a badge of honor. Marlene held up her phone, already recording. "This is our driveway," Rebecca said, adjusting the bags in her arms. "There are no signs, no red lines. We parked here for years." Marlene's expression didn't change. "You're violating HOA Regulation 7.3.2. Rebecca blinked. "I wasn't aware of any new rules." "Notice was sent twice by mail," Marlene replied flatly. Rebecca opened her mouth to argue, but the sound of tires crunching on the curb made her turn. A white van marked with the HOA logo rolled up slowly. Another official stepped out, stocky, stone-faced, wearing mirrored sunglasses and carrying a clipboard. "Good afternoon," he said. "I'm Carl. We'd like to handle this quickly. If you don't mind stepping into the van, we can take care of the paperwork. Just 5 minutes." Rebecca hesitated. Something about the way he spoke made her skin crawl. She had attended HOA meetings before, knew how petty citations could spiral into fines, complaints to employers, even threats of legal action. She just wanted this over with. "Fine," she sighed. "Let me just put these inside." "No need," Marlene cut in. "It won't take long." Carl stepped closer. "It's best to cooperate." Rebecca, wary but resigned, climbed into the van's passenger seat. The door closed behind her. Then, click, she turned the handle. It didn't move. She tried again. Still locked. Panic prickled up her spine. Carl opened his tablet and started tapping. Outside, Marlene continued recording. From the kitchen window upstairs, Rebecca's husband, Marcus, was rinsing strawberries when he noticed the van. Something was off. He leaned closer and saw Rebecca inside, her palms pressed against the glass, lips moving frantically. Without thinking, Marcus dashed out the front door barefoot. "Hey, let her out." Carl raised his hand calmly. "Sir," she entered voluntarily. "We're processing a violation." Marcus ignored him and tried the passenger door. "Locked." "She's trapped in there," he yelled. Marlene stood still, arms crossed. "She's not under arrest, sir. We're waiting for local enforcement." Standard protocol. Inside the van, Rebecca's movements grew frantic. She yanked at the handle, pounded her fists on the window. The heat inside the van climbed quickly. No airflow, no cracked window. Just her, baking in the sun. From the grass, a small voice rose. "Why aren't they letting her out?" Marcus turned. Jonah, barefoot in gym shorts and a wrinkled t-shirt, had just woken up from a nap. His face was pale but resolute. Marcus had no answer. He didn't know why no one was acting, why an HOA had power to detain someone, why the officers were treating this like standard procedure. 15 minutes passed. Rebecca remained trapped. Her fists pounded the glass with decreasing strength. Marcus paced the lawn, checking the street every few seconds. Finally, a police cruiser rolled in. "No sirens, no urgency." 2 officers stepped out as if investigating a noise complaint. "Thank God you're here," Marcus said, rushing forward. "She's trapped inside that van. She's overheating." One officer nodded. The other walked to Carl and Marlene. They chatted, casually. Minutes passed. Marcus stood stunned. The officer finally returned. "They say she entered voluntarily. No weapons involved. This is a civil matter. We can't intervene. She can't get out," Marcus shouted. They locked the door. "She's not under arrest. This doesn't qualify as unlawful detainment without use of force. She's begging for help." Behind the tinted glass, Rebecca's silhouette slapped the window again. "We'll file a report," the officer shrugged. Marcus stared. It was like the world had turned sideways. Neighbors watched from behind fences and porches. Phone's out. Recording. Whispering. Are we really going to do nothing? Jonah asked, calm but too calm for a 12-year-old. Marcus had always taught Jonah to follow rules, respect authority. But now that belief was breaking. And then Jonah moved. He walked toward the van. Not running. Not yelling. Just moving with the quiet certainty of someone who knew no one else would act. The street was still. The only sound was cicadas in the trees. Jonah reached the van door. He gripped the handle. Pulled. Nothing. Pulled again. Still locked. Marcus stepped forward, but stopped. Something about Jonah's stance, the fierce focus, made him freeze. Jonah planted his feet, tightened his grip, and screamed a raw, ancient sound. He yanked with everything he had. A groan. Metal twisted. On the fourth pull, the van door ripped clean off. The crowd gasped. Heat poured out like smoke from an oven. Rebecca stumbled forward, gasping, her face drenched in sweat. She collapsed into Marcus's arms. Jonah stood beside them, arms trembling. No one spoke. The officers didn't move. Carl and Marlene stared. Marlene took a step back. That's vandalism, she said weakly. But it didn't matter. Rebecca was free. And across the street, the neighbor's teenage son had streamed the whole thing live. Within hours, the clip went viral. 12-year-old rips van door off to rescue trap mom from HOA. It exploded across TikTok, Reddit, Twitter. News anchors debated. Lawyers weighed in. Activists called for reform. The next day, Carl and Marlene were placed on administrative leave. The police department announced an internal review. 3 days later, the HOA board was suspended. The footage sparked outrage, but more than that, it started conversations. HOA meetings were flooded. Neighbors shared stories of chalk fines, bench removals, paint shade arguments. People realized Rebecca wasn't the first, just a first on camera. 3 months later, the county courthouse was packed. News crews outside. Signs reading, "No more HOA tyranny" waved. Rebecca, quiet but composed, sat beside Marcus. Jonah, in a too-big shirt and clean jeans, sat quietly beside them. The prosecutor played the footage. Gasps echoed. A juror covered her mouth. The jury took under 2 hours. Guilty. Carl and Marlene received probation, community service, and a permanent ban from any enforcement role. More importantly, a state audit followed. It uncovered corruption, collusion, buried complaints. The HOA was dismantled. And Jonah? He didn't give interviews, didn't seek attention. When asked how he felt, he simply said, "I didn't mean to be strong. I just didn't want my mom to be scared anymore." That clip went viral too. Not because it was dramatic, because it was true. In their garage, the van door hangs on the wall, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes when systems fail and rules protect the wrong people, a child may be the one to tear the door off a broken world.